another thing, I mean, if you look at these ESG funds, they've performed poorly. I mean, it isn't like this is like new financial whiz-bangers here doing this. I mean, they are subordinating returns in order to advance ideology. And so this has just not been an effective thing. You know, we've now seen this in practice for a long enough time to realize that. So I would hope that Florida leading, and what we're eventually going to do is do some changes administratively with our board. Obviously, we need that codified in statute. Any of the things with the financial institutions must be done in statute, so we'll be working with Speaker Renner on that. But what we need to do is get other like-minded states to have all of our retirement systems voting rights used as a block, basically. And so, you know, you look at all the states, like the big states, like obviously California and New York are going to do their things in the other direction. We understand that. But we could get Florida, Texas, you know, Arizona, Tennessee. A lot of these states could come together, and we'd have a lot of money, a lot of voting power under management. And so we could be a real check against a lot of the excesses that we've seen, and probably have enough resources to beat back a lot of the stuff that you're seeing. You know, they elected people to Exxon's board who opposed oil. I mean, it's like, are you kidding me? This is ridiculous. And so, and I think people are wising up to it because they see the negative effects of this, where you have problems with energy and other problems. And Paul said, you're going to see problems with food. If all this vision would come to a reality, it's going to be devastating for agriculture and devastating for, and particularly for low-income people and really poor countries around the world. You know, they are going to be absolutely devastated by this. So this has huge implications, and it's like, okay, you know, you have a handful of people in Davos deciding all this, that this is how we're supposed to live? Not on my watch, not here in the state of Florida. Okay, Masha, off-topic question, I know. So I think he also sent, I think you saw the letter he sent to the rating, and if you look 6 months ago to now, those companies by and large are in better shape than they were 6 months ago, largely because we enacted reforms, and Paul and I are going to do even more in the next legislative session. And so it's our view from the insurance commissioner's perspective, also Jimmy Petronas, chief financial officer, is that we've seen some stabilization that was much needed. And so they were arguing against the downgrade. That has now been punted, and we don't think it's going to be necessary. But what we're going to do, and what they're going to do, is say, okay, you have some of these companies, you know, the companies that are really solvent, you have the price increases have been less than the ones that are struggling. They try to jack up the rates. So what they're saying is with OIR is they're going to say, okay, you have a certain amount of liability that you're going to be responsible for. There's reinsurance coverage, there's other things. But then above that, you know, we can use Citizens Insurance as kind of the reinsurer of last resort. Why would we want to do that? Well, because if the companies get downgraded and they have to shed policies, those will end up going on Citizens anyway. So the exposure to Citizens is more to take on the policies than it will be to act as a reinsurer of last resort. So I think if you talk to the insurance commissioner, I think what he would say is because of the legislative changes, that stopped some of the bleeding, which was necessary, and then now having the ability to have Citizens serve as kind of the reinsurer of last resort, because a lot of the problems we saw over the last year were in the reinsurance markets, and that's the problem. So this will be able to do that. and hopefully be able to get these companies going forward where people have policies. And then I think when Paul comes in, we're going to be able to do even more. Now, we did do stuff where, we put $100 million into where you can do repairs on your homes, and you get a reduction in the property insurance rates, which I think is good, and we want to build off of some of that success. But that is what they're working on. That's what they're going to go forward with, and I think it's a really good idea. Yes, sir. So he's asking about an issue that there was a video. Well, first of all, there was a video out of Dallas where they had all these young kids putting money in the underwear of these drag queens at a bar, and that's totally unacceptable. And I said that at the time. Then what happened was, a week or two later, there was video from a place that had similar stuff, and then that was identified as being in Florida. So we said, wait a minute. Having kids involved in this is wrong. That is not consistent with our law and policy in the state of Florida, and it is a disturbing trend in our society to try to sexualize these young people. That is not the way you look out for our children. You protect children. You do not expose them to things that are inappropriate. So they had this video, and it's identified in Miami. So it's Department of Business and Professional Regulation. They started an investigation. They actually had agents going to this place and conducting, effectively just gathering information, getting intelligence, seeing what's going on. And what they found was, not only were there minors there for some of these, and these are sexually explicit drag shows, they actually had the bar had a children's menu on their food service. And you think to yourself, give me a break, what's going on? So they looked under Florida law and were able to initiate this procedure that would basically, take away the liquor license for that, and that basically ends the story. So this is so they gathered the evidence, they moved. It doesn't mean that there may be more, and if there's evidence of that, the agencies in Florida are going to respond. I mean, we take the well-being of children very seriously. We want to make sure. We want to make sure that we have a state and we have communities where kids can be kids. And if you think about some of the battles we fought, whether it was with the parents' rights in education, whether it's having the battle against Disney and all these other things, at the end of the day, and look, I'm sensitive to this. I've got a 5, a 4, and a 2-year-old. My wife and I back home, and we get our money's worth out of that. Being parent is the most important thing we do. It's also very challenging enough as it is. And so I think parents, particularly at this time in society's history, should be able to have their kids go to kindergarten, watch cartoons, just be kids, without having some agenda shoved down their throats all the time. And that's what we're fighting for. And that's what we're fighting for, and that's why we, those agencies are moving forward with that. And, it used to be, people have different views about what they want to do as adults, but it used to be, the kids are off limits. No one wanted to bring the kids in, to any of this stuff. And we've got to get back to that. And I can tell you, in Florida, we are going to make sure that happens. And I know the Speaker will be standing with us to be able to do things legislatively if that's required, just to make sure that our kids can be kids in the state of Florida. And when they were doing the parents' rights in education, some people were trying to say, oh, this stuff isn't in the elementary schools. No one's doing that. You guys are just doing that. In reality, you've seen Los Angeles put out this stuff, New Jersey. And basically, this will be for elementary school kids where they're instructed to tell them, well, you may have been born a boy. That may have been what you said, but maybe you're really a girl. That's wrong. That has no place in school. So that is happening in our country. Anyone that tells you it's not happening is lying to you. So I think what we did in Florida was very important to lay down a marker to make sure that that's not something that gained a foothold here in the state of Florida, and that, again, our kids are able to be kids and be able to live in it. It's a great state to live in. We've got a lot of great stuff going for us. There's a lot of families around the country that wish they could come and move their families to Florida. A lot of them did for a variety of reasons, not just taxes. People were fleeing draconian COVID restrictions to be able to live in a free state. I've had families tell me they moved because they did not want to have COVID vax mandates for their school children, because that was going to happen in some of these other jurisdictions. So they moved here to be able to preserve that freedom. You know, we've had people here move because we're a law and order state, and people want to live in safe communities. And so I think what we've done is take action, whether it's protecting people's freedoms, jobs, businesses, safe communities, children, to really have a better quality of life. Because I can tell you, in these places where they've let the criminals run wild, in these places where they haven't stood up for families, the quality of life has gone down. I mean, there's just no question about it. So we're not going to let that happen here in the state of Florida. Thank you all. God bless you. Appreciate it. Thanks so much.